In my sermon book, I have a story written in the Reader's Digest. It's a fascinating story. It's the story of a man called Marcel Sternberger, who gets into a train in Brooklyn on the subway, and it's the middle of the day. He'd gone to visit a sick friend who was dying. And he visits the sick friend and takes this train that he doesn't ever take because he doesn't live there. And it's the middle of the day, he's normally at work. And he gets into the train and it's crowded. But as soon as he gets in, one man gets off and there's one seat. He makes a beeline for it and sits down. But the man next to him is reading a newspaper with his arms outstretched. So Sternberger is sort of craning his neck away, but he looks at the newspaper and it's in Polish. And Sternberger understood Polish. So he's starting to read it and he notices the man is reading it from the classified section. So he looks at the man and he says, "Are you looking for a job, sir?" He said, "No, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for my wife." He said, "What do you mean? Are you looking to find somebody to marry?" He said, No. I'm from Hungary, Debrecen in Hungary." And he said, "During the war, I was taken away by the Russians to bury the German dead. And by the time I came back, my city had been liberated. But I was not sure whether my wife ended up in a concentration camp in Auschwitz or whether she was liberated. I've had no contact with her. So I've come to America looking for my wife to see if she was liberated and brought here. We have no contact address for each other." And Marcel Sternberger starts to think, you know what? A few days ago, I was in a party. He's talking to himself now. And there was a woman from Debrecen, Hungary, who said she had been liberated by the Allies and brought to the United States. And her husband had been taken by the Soviets to bury the German dead. And he'd written her name down because he said, maybe we'll get together sometime. And he'd written her name down, and then he turns to Sternberger and says to him, "What's your wife's name?" He says, Maria Paskin. Sternberger takes out that piece of paper and it says Maria Paskin, phone number. And then he says to the man, "And what's your name?" He said, "My name is Bella Paskin." He said, "Miss Paskin, please get off at the next station with me. I want to make a phone call for you." He didn't tell him anything. So they get off and they go to a telephone booth. And he dials in, tells the man to stay outside. And after many rings, this woman picks it up. He says, "Who am I speaking to?" And she says, "Maria Paskin." He said, "Maria, do you remember me? My name is Marcel Sternberger." She says, "Yes, I remember you." He said, "Maria, what was your husband's name?" She said, "My husband's name was Bella Paskin." He said, "Maria, you're about to witness the greatest miracle of your life. Hold on." And Bella Paskin comes in and he hands the receiver to him. And he says, "Hello." And Marcel is standing outside the phone booth, and he sees the man slap his forehead and screaming out of control with absolute disbelief, not believing what had really happened. So Sternberger is walking out with tears in his eyes and just thinking of how this all happened. He said, "You know what? I don't take this train. I don't live here. How did all this happen?" And he gave the man some money to go and meet up with Maria. And he ends the article with this. The man writing the article says this: "Skeptical persons would no doubt attribute the events of that memorable afternoon to mere chance. But was it chance that made Sternberger suddenly decide to visit his sick friend and take a subway line that he'd never been on before? Was it chance that caused the man sitting by the door of the car to rush out just as Sternberger came in? Was it chance that caused Bella Paskin to be sitting beside Sternberger reading a Hungarian newspaper? Was it chance, or did God ride the Brooklyn subway that afternoon?" Do you think you're here by accident? Do you really think your life is just a compilation of accidents? Do you think God's brought you here for a purpose this morning? It may be you really don't know Him, but deep inside you're wanting Him very badly, and saying, "God, if you're real, speak to me. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what heartache you're facing. I don't know what struggle you're facing. But the Lord of the universe, in His sovereign grace, has brought you here and wants to speak to you and tell you that His love for you is enormous, that He wants to give to you that relationship with your Holy Father so that you may know the truth and the truth will set you free. This is the story of the gospel, the Word becoming flesh and dwelling among us, full of grace and truth. Again and again, I am reminded that nothing in my life has happened by accident. Even the dark moments of bad choices, God has used in a marvelous way for His glory. Are you running from Him today? In an audience like this, there has to be those who are running. Remember what Francis Thompson wrote, I fled Him down the nights and down the days, I fled Him down the arches of the years. I fled Him down the labyrinthine ways of my mind, and in the midst of tears, I hid from Him. Adown titanic glooms of chasmed fears, up wistful hopes I sped, from those strong feet that followed after. And then he ends his poem by saying, ah, poorest, blindest, meekest, I am He whom thou seekest. Thou dravest love from thee that dravest me. When you drive God away from you, you're driving love away from you. Are you not, my Holy Father? Did you not speak to me and want to meet me? Did you not intervene in my path? And lastly, I say to you, he says in the prayer, will you not? Are you not? Did you not? Will you not? Will you not deliver us from this vast army? And God says this, do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army, for this battle is not yours, but God's. I am 99% sure this verse is the middle verse of the Old Testament. The battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. I don't know what you're battling today. It's not yours, it's His. He's fighting it for you. There are so many battles that come upon. We've taken on a big project in our ministry. And I said to my wife last week before we left, I said, boy, I sure hope I've not tried to bite off more than I can chew. I said, this is huge. And she comforted me and said, Ravi, the Lord's brought you this far. He didn't bring you here by accident. He's brought you here for a purpose. He'll provide. He'll take care of what it is we need and you need for this. And so here's my challenge to you. The only way you can say the battle is not yours but His is if He has won the battle in your heart. Do you hear me? If He's won the battle in your heart, then the battle is completely His from there on, because He said, I am with you. I have overcome the world. I will equip you. I will empower you. The battle is His once He has conquered your heart. The peace that He brings from knowing that, from you knowing, I can't win this. I really can't win this. And you have to be a person who has faced such battles. I've faced them. When you say, I can't cope with this, it's too much for me. God says, the battle is mine, not yours. It's at the heart of the Hebrew Scriptures. The battle is mine, not yours. And so I say to you today, have you surrendered your heart to Him? There's a Muslim medical doctor converted to Christ from Pakistan. I sat next to him at a meeting, and at the end of it, he told me his story. I don't remember a lot of it. He said, I was a total skeptic. And I went to listen to a preacher one day, and I was utterly bored. He said, I listened to nothing he said, but I was glad when he said, I just want to close with 2 statements. So I was happy the end had come. And then he said this, in surrendering, you win. In dying, you live. He said, I sat up. In surrendering, you win. In dying, you live. He said, I said, God, I've heard nothing of what he said, but those 2 lines make a lot of sense to me. and he surrendered his heart to Jesus Christ and began his new life in God. Wherever you're seated this morning, what a beautiful crowd. Thank you for coming.